Hello, this is Sonara.
Hello, this is Francis.
And we're reading the County Press for today, Friday the 4th of October 2019. But first, we're starting off with some society news. On Tuesday the 8th of October, the strollers will be meeting for a stroll in Sandown. They will meet for coffee at Spithead Coffee House at approximately 10:40 a.m. After the stroll, lunch will be at the Fighting Cocks at 12:30 p.m. Please contact Laura on 522205 or email memberservices@iwsb.org.uk if you would like to join the strollers group. The swimming group are swimming at the Waterside Pool in Ryde from 8 p.m. till 8:45 p.m. The pool is closed to the public while the group swims. There are male and female volunteers to help you get in and out of the pool, as well as lifeguards to ensure your safety. To join the swimming group, please call Sight for Wight first to notify us of your swimming ability. You need to register with the office at Millbrook House first to be able to swim with the group.
Wednesday, the 9th of October. The weekly coffee morning will be held at Millbrook House this week from 10 a.m. till 11:30 a.m. There will also be our low vision drop-in between 10 a.m. and 12 noon. This is a weekly event to allow you to view and try the low vision equipment we have at Sight for Wight without the need for an appointment. The book group will be meeting at Lord Louis Library between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. We discuss the last month's book over tea and coffee and hand out the book for the next month. The books are available on CD or USB. Please contact Laura Jasper on 522205 for more information or email members@iwsb.org.uk.
On Thursday, the 10th of October, Laura will be at the morning coffee morning at the Old Smithy Coffee Shop in God's Hill between 10:30 a.m. and 11:45 a.m. Our coffee mornings are run by staff and volunteers from Sight for Wight and are open to all. Refreshments, including delicious fresh cakes, are available to purchase direct from the coffee shop. The Thursday social group are meeting at Millbrook House. The group meets from 10:30 a.m. till 2 p.m. With the help of a volunteer, the group enjoy a number of activities: crosswords, catching up on news and trivia, knitting and crochet. They are currently making pom-poms to make into a rug, as well as decorations for the Sight for Wight Christmas tree. This very friendly mixed group also love to chat and enjoy lunch together. Later in the afternoon, volunteers come in and read to the group on different topics. If you would like to join the group, then please contact the charity on 522205.
Any other news? We have received 2 messages from the Isle of Wight Against Scams partnership. The first is that a month-long awareness-raising campaign against scams has been launched by the Isle of Wight Council, highlighting scams and doorstep crime, as well as encouraging businesses and organisations to join the partnership. More information is available here: www.iow.gov.uk/scam partnership campaign launched. The second is to advise that trading standards are warning residents to be aware of a new scam call that has hit the island this week. Residents have reported receiving calls purporting to be from Amazon Prime, and they appear to vary slightly. One states that your Amazon Prime account is about to be shut down, and press 1 for further details. The other states that the subscription of £39.99 will renew automatically unless you ring to let us know that you are not renewing. In most instances, the residents who have received these calls don't have an Amazon account, though have realised it as a scam. For anyone with an Amazon account, this could be quite worrying. This is definitely a scam. Do not respond. Hang up immediately.
2020 diaries and calendars. It's time to order your VIP diaries and calendars. Please note that suppliers of VIP diaries have now imposed a minimum order. Please note that the suppliers of VIP diaries have now imposed a minimum number for orders that we place on your behalf. Therefore, we will place orders on the following dates: 21st of October, 11th of November, 25th of November, and then a final order on Wednesday, 3rd of December. Any orders after this date will need to be made directly by members to the dairy company. Prices are as follows. Pocket Diary A6 with cover, week to a view, £5.75. Pocket Diary A6 insert only, week to a view, £5.30. MIDI Diary A5, week to a view, £7.65. Jumbo Diary A4, week to a view, 2 days per page, £21. Desk Diary A4, week to a view, £9.45. Wall Hanging Calendar A3, £6.25. Wall Hanging Dates Reminder, £5.75. To place your order, please contact Laura Jasper, members at iwsb.org.uk, or phone 522205. The West Wight Coffee and Chat, which takes place at the end of the Line Cafe in Freshwater, has now ended due to declining numbers. We apologise for any inconvenience.
An audiobook group meets at Ryde Library on the second Friday of each month from 11 a.m. for about 1 hour. Their next meeting is on the 11th of October. This book group is not run by Sight for Wight, so if you would like further information about joining the group, please contact Joe Dodd on 823825. This group is also looking for a facilitator for the group, so if you know someone who could help, please contact Joe.
Possible new audiobook group. Alistair has run the Freshwater Library audiobook group for many years and is now looking to start a new one at Sandown Library. If you would be interested in joining the group, please contact Sandown Library on 402748 with your name and contact details, and they will pass on your details to Alistair. Days and times to be arranged once we have an idea of interest. Please note that this group is not run by Sight for Wight. We are just advertising on Alistair's behalf.
Christmas tree decorations. If any member would like to make a Christmas tree decoration for our tree to be displayed at Bryston Christmas Tree Festival in December, preferably in blue and gold colours, but not essential, they are more than welcome to either drop them off at Millbrook House or send in by the end of November. That would be fantastic.
Sight for Wight has the following donated second-hand items for sale. All items are in working order and are sold as seen. An RNIB pen Friend version 1 with instructions and labels at £25. A Cobalt Speechmaster Talking Microwave 2016 model in good used condition at £80. A Daylight standing floor lamp on wheels, so it's able to move around. Good used condition at £20. an enhanced vision smart reader with control handset, good used condition, at £300. If you'd like to view or purchase any of these items, please contact Laura Jasper, members at iwsb.org.uk, or phone the charity on 522205.
Raffle tickets are now available for our annual raffle, which will be drawn on the 31st of October. The tickets are £1 each and come in a book of 5 tickets. Please contact Sight for Wight on 522205 or email inquiries@iwsb.org.uk if you would like to purchase tickets.
Visit to the Isle of Wight Distillery on Monday the 11th of November. Meet first at 10:30 a.m. at the Old Barracks Tea Room in Pool Park, Ryde, followed by a talk and tasting at 12 noon for approximately 45 minutes to 1 hour at the Isle of Wight Distillery, Pondwell, Ryde. No charge for the talk or tasting. Minibus transport may be available depending on location and will cost £2. Closing date for applications is Friday the 25th of October. For further details or to book your place, please contact Laura Jasper on 522205 or email members@iwsb.org.uk.
Murder Mystery Night. Join us for an evening of murder and mystery at Millbrook House on Thursday the 31st of October at 6:30 p.m. Ticket price is £10, which includes a simple 2-course supper, glass of wine, coffee and mints. We will also be drawing our annual summer raffle, so there's still a chance to buy a ticket and be in with a chance of winning some great prizes, including a first prize of £100 cash. Parking is available via Castle Road, PO 31DT. For booking inquiries, please contact Sight for Wight on 522205 or email fundraising@iwsb.org.uk. Short Writing Competition 2019. Later in the programme, you will be able to hear actor Melvin Hayes promote this year's exciting competition.
Sight for Wight welcomes Friday's Child. According to the traditional rhyme, Friday's Child is loving and giving, and Sight for Wight is delighted to welcome a new employee who will assist the member services team working each Friday. Morgan will be the new Girl Friday on reception at Millbrook House in Newport, the base of the island's oldest established independent sight loss charity that provides information, support and services to any islander affected by sight loss. In her own words, the new member services assistant introduces herself. My name is Morgan. I'm 22 years old and also visually impaired myself. I've been visually impaired since I was born and have been living with this condition all my life, with no idea what was wrong with my sight until I turned 17. When I turned 17 was when I got diagnosed with the condition called nystagmus. This was a life-changing experience for me as I was put onto the visually impaired register, and Sight for Wight helped me with this process. They provided me with the support I needed to cope with this new element of life. By being here now as the new member services assistant at Sight for Wight, I hope to help guide those in similar situations as myself, getting them the support and guidance that they need. I also aim to help those around my age come to terms with sight loss, as it can be a very difficult time in this generation with opening up about being visually impaired. It can be very frightening and isolating. Chief Executive Miriam Tong confirmed that Morgan will work alongside the Member Services Manager, Laura, and our other Member Services Assistant, Sue, all of whom work part-time, saying, "This appointment is important in extending the availability of our Member Services team at reception on Fridays. Our reception team are vitally important, as they are frequently the first point of contact with Sight for Wight, offering information and support in a helpful and friendly manner to any islander who contacts us regarding sight loss. Once Morgan has settled into her role, we hope that she will also be able to establish and support a network of and for other younger islanders affected by sight loss. This might involve coordinating meetups and social media networks to appeal to younger islanders experiencing sight impairment. However, irrespective of age, we are always pleased to welcome telephone inquiries throughout the week on 522205, callers in person to our weekly Wednesday coffee mornings at Millbrook House, or to one of our other coffee mornings hosted on various days at venues across the island. All details can be found on our website, www.iwsp.org.uk, or just give us a call. We are always pleased to welcome newcomers who often gain confidence and support from meeting and talking with others living with sight loss.
This week in Touch. MP Marcia de Cordova's fight for disability support. Visually impaired MP Marcia de Cordova has been struggling to get funding for the extra support she says she needs to do her job. The Shadow Disability Minister's fight with Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, the body responsible for supporting disabled MPs, is ongoing. Marcia explains what has gone wrong. Talking newspapers, which provide print disabled people with an audio selection of articles from local publications, can now sign up to an application which makes them available on smart speakers. Inventor of My Talking newspapers, Jonathan Horniblow, explains why he hopes this new service will bring the service to many more listeners. Presenter Peter Wight, producer Emma Tracy.
And on to the county press news and headlines. The one and only headline is "Tumbling Down. Ventnor family left homeless as house partially collapses." A family of 5 has been left homeless in temporary accommodation and without their possessions after their rented house partially collapsed on Sunday. Matthew Smith and Joe Ellison were forced to evacuate their Ventnor home with children Lewis Hughes, 17, Owen Hughes, 13, and Thomas Smith, 10, when the side wall started falling away. They were initially told by the Isle of Wight Council they were not an emergency housing priority, and their landlady texted them saying, "I'm under no obligation to rehouse you." They have since been found temporary accommodation by the council in a Sandown hotel. The drama unfolded as the whole family were asleep in their home of 3 years. "We were woken up by a huge rumble," Matthew said. "We watched the wall go past the bay window. The whole family jumped straight out of bed and assembled in the middle floor of the house, realizing the outside had collapsed. They could see a hole through the neighbour's roof below, where falling masonry had crashed through and landed on a bed. Multiple emergency services were called to the scene, together with Red Cross volunteers. The incident was handed over to the police, who closed the road. We were told, after an inspection, there was no way we could re-enter the property," Matthew said. "We made arrangements for the kids to stay with their grandma, and we found a friend's floor hoping the landlady would assist us the next morning. On Monday, we received a text from her stating she wasn't taking any responsibility for rehoming us. We contacted homeless prevention at the council numerous times and were told we were not a priority for temporary accommodation because we'd had somewhere to go the night before. Their actual words were, "You were okay last night, so you can do the same tonight." But we wanted to be reunited with our children. The landlady was well aware the building was in disrepair and was trying to sell it, as she couldn't afford to fix it. The landlady asked the family via text to leave the keys with the letting agent so contractors and building control could gain access. The family has been left with no clothes and unable to get into the property. The homeowner's solicitor, Michael Parker, said she is working with all relevant parties to make the property safe as soon as possible and to develop a plan to complete repairs. The matter is in the hands of the insurer. An Isle of Wight Council spokesperson said, "The council provides emergency housing in all cases where we think households may be homeless or have a priority need, including households with dependent children. In this case, the family initially indicated it could stay with family temporarily. As soon as the family communicated they were homeless, we booked emergency accommodation for them. The council's core values expect staff to be compassionate and empathetic and clearly communicate with clients regarding their situation. The property, Blendworth Terrace, is the end property of a Victorian terrace which backs on to St Catherine's Street. 3 properties were initially evacuated."
Grinch won't be visiting Ventnor. The popular annual Ventnorville event will not take place this year due to a lack of volunteers and venues and rising costs. The event, which has seen the Grinch visit Ventnor for the past 5 years, will not take place this Christmas. A statement said, "The Ventnorville team is disappointed to announce they will not be operating the usual Christmas event in Ventnor this year. There have been various planning and financial challenges to overcome, securing a venue for the craft fair, significant increases in hiring certain venues, the road closure fees for the Winter Carnival and Lantern Parade, and general increase in costs. These, together with a real lack of manpower in helping organise the event, has brought us to this decision. They would like to bring the event back for 2020. They are seeking financial sponsorship and active volunteers. Email ventnorville@gmail.com.
Boris talks Isle of Wight boats. Prime Minister Boris Johnson praised the work of Isle of Wight shipbuilders at the Conservative conference on Wednesday. Mr Johnson heaped praise on Wight Shipyard, saying, "We already have some astonishing exports. Just in the last few months, I have seen an Isle of Wight shipbuilder that exports vast leisure catamarans to Mexico." Back in June, the then party leader candidate spoke to several members of the 150-strong workforce at Wight Shipyard and toured the premises, seeing the new passenger ferries.
Calling all women's groups. Community groups can apply for grants of between £5,000 and £10,000 from the Tampon Tax Community Fund. The grants, available through the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Community Foundation, HIWCF, are aimed at helping marginalised women and girls of all ages and backgrounds overcome barriers that prevent them from fulfilling their potential. The funding is for projects and services that directly benefit women and girls. Projects that build skills, confidence and self-esteem or make a long-term difference to health and well-being are eligible to bid. Projects connecting women to others are also welcomed. Grant Cornwell, HIWCH Chief Executive, said, "We are delighted to be distributing the Tampon Tax Community Fund, directing funds generated from the VAT on sanitary products. The deadline for applications is October the 11th. To apply, visit www.hiwcf.com/tampon-tax-community.
Bricklayer death case. 3 Isle of Wight businesses have been taken to court following the death of bricklayer David Shaler, who died after falling from a building in Newport in 2016. The Health and Safety Executive is prosecuting 3 companies and 2 men for alleged breaches of health and safety laws. H.J. Bennett is charged with a self-employed person failing to discharge general health and safety duty to a person other than an employee. Ryde Demolition and Stoneham Construction are charged with contravening a health and safety regulation. Nigel Bennett, 52, of Foreland Road, Bembridge, is charged with failure to discharge health and safety duty to a person other than an employee. Neil Harrison, 60, of Gordon Close, Benstead, is charged with contravening a health and safety regulation. The case went before Portsmouth Magistrates Court yesterday, Monday, and adjourned to Portsmouth Crown Court until October 29th. No pleas were entered.
Attempted murder arrest. A 41-year-old woman was arrested in Shanklin on suspicion of attempted murder. Police are investigating following reports of an assault on a 44-year-old man at Lower Hyde Holiday Park, Shanklin, in the early hours of Saturday. A police spokesperson said the man suffered minor injuries and did not require hospital treatment. On Sunday, the woman was released on bail until the end of October, pending further inquiries.
Plans unveiled for 465 homes in Ryde. Plans have been unveiled by the developer behind Princess Court, East Cowes, and Springfield Court, Seaview, to build up to 465 homes in Ryde. Providing planning permission is granted by the Isle of Wight Council, West Acre Park would be built next year on the outskirts of Ryde, near Apley Beach, and include 2, 3 and 4 bedroom homes and bungalows. The development would include community facilities such as a GP surgery, cafe, play area and a landscaped public spaces, opening up land not previously accessible to the public. The company behind the plans is Captiva Homes, owned by James Pink and Justin Gentleman. They said the scheme would bring in £1.6 million worth of investment in the area for schools and roads. It's proposed the development would be accessed from Apley Road and Bullen Road, with secondary access from Hope Road. A new public footpath would provide access from Marlborough Road. Of the proposed 465 homes, 165 would be affordable housing. Of the proposed 465 homes, 165 would be affordable housing. James said the land has been identified as suitable for residential development, and the team at Captiva Homes, as local people, felt a commitment to exploring this opportunity to ensure maximum protection and responsible development of the land by islanders who care about our community. This is the premise we had in mind when we developed the West Acre concept. These homes go some way to meeting the housing requirements for our island now and for future generations, and we have designed our homes to grow with families and give them the opportunity to extend them in the future. Captiva Homes has launched a public consultation on the plans and will hold 2 open days for people to view the scheme. The first will be held at St John's Church on Thursday, October 10th at 10 a.m. The second will be at Oakfield Primary School on Friday, October the 11th at 6 p.m.
In brief, prepare for the cold. Get prepared for a harsh winter at an event to help island residents. Citizens Advice, the Footprint Trust, People Matter and their Isle Help partners are holding a free Winter is Coming event. They will be joined by Veterans Outreach, Southern Gas Networks and Southern Water and the Isle of Wight Council's Trading Standards Department. The event is at the Riverside Centre on Thursday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. There will be advice about energy saving, utility companies, switching suppliers, preparing for extreme weather and avoiding scams, as well as tips to help save money.
Celebs to judge writing contest. Sharpen your pencils, pick up your pens and dust off your keyboard. Sight for Wight's short story competition is returning for a 4th year. Following the success of last year's writing competition, which produced some very high quality entries, Sight for Wight, SFW, is running the short story writing competition again this year. Chris Kane, Marketing, Communications and Fundraising Manager for SFW, said, "This is an exciting opportunity for budding island writers to become published authors and win some amazing prizes. We are delighted this year to announce 4 celebrity readers who have kindly agreed to donate their time and read the winning stories. Among the celebrity readers for this year's competition are jazz singer Idana Minghella, It Ain't Half Hot Mum actor Melvin Hayes, television presenter Kate Weston, and actor Michael Maloney, whose credits include The White Queen, Hamlet, and Truly Madly Deeply. The winners in 3 age categories, under 12, 12 to 17 and over 18s, will be announced at an awards ceremony at the Riverside Centre, Newport, on Monday, December the 9th. The winners will also be invited to join the team at Vectis Radio to be interviewed on air and record a podcast of their story, with the winner of the under 12 category also having their story printed in the county press. Entries should be submitted to Waterstones Newport by November 8th. The word count is between 1,500 and 2,000 words for adults and up to 750 words for under 18s. Formerly the Isle of Wight Society for the Blind, SFW is a local independent charity established in 1895 to help people living with sight loss. For more information about the competition, visit www.iwsb.org.uk, call 522205 or email fundraising@iwsb.org.uk.
St Mary's Roadworks meeting. A public meeting will be held to inform islanders about the St Mary's roundabout scheme. Work started on Monday and residents have been warned to expect 15 months of disruption. The information evening will be held at Medina Theatre on October the 17th at 7 p.m. Isle of Wight Council representatives will talk about the scheme and take questions. Places must be booked in advance, either online at www.iow.gov.uk/theatre bookings or by calling the Theatre Box office.
Tackle problem buildings. Historic England has supported the regeneration of Newport, Ryde and East Cowes, but said the towns had to work together for it to succeed. It highlighted several issues that needed to be addressed: problem buildings such as Ryde Town Hall and the Royal York Hotel, the landslip at East Cowes, and master plans for Newport Harbour and Ryde Esplanade. In a report published last week, after members of Historic England visited the island in June, the organisation has made recommendations to help restore and build on the Isle of Wight's remarkable architecture. It follows the publication of the Isle of Wight Council's regeneration strategy aimed at breathing new life into the island's towns and communities, and the news that Newport and Ryde have been awarded £700,000 and £480,000 respectively from the Historic High Street's Heritage Action Zones funding pot. Recommendations for Ryde include the urgent development of strategy targeting high-profile problem buildings in the town, with top priority given to the Town Hall, followed by the Royal York Hotel. They also include producing a master plan for the Esplanade, reducing the amount of traffic, promoting walking and cycling, and looking at the possibility of relocating the bus station away from the seafront. Continual growth of the Medina Valley was a key recommendation for East Cowes regeneration, as well as dealing with the landslip along the Esplanade. The council should develop a landscape-led plan for the Newport Harbour area, but look at building repairs along the High Street and reducing the amount of traffic in and around the town centre, it recommended. As a wider issue, the Historic Places panel said the towns should work together rather than in competition. Council leader, Councillor Dave Stewart, said, "Along with our town council partners, we are delighted to be able to tap into the expertise available from Historic England in addressing our ambitions for the future of our high streets on the island."
Isle of Wight Council to fight 10,000 homes plan. The Isle of Wight Council has confirmed it will challenge government housing targets that would see almost 10,000 homes built on the island in the next 15 years. Council leader, Councillor Dave Stewart, previously said he agreed with MP Bob Seeley that the targets were too high and the authority needed to build a case to take to the government. However, the council previously published the Island Plan, a long-term development strategy which includes plans for the new homes based on the targets. Mr. Seeley has been a vocal critic of the Island Plan and has toured the Isle of Wight, urging residents to oppose it. Recent meetings have been held in Rookley and Newport, where Parish Council Chair, Councillor Julie Jones-Evans, said, "Everyone is in agreement that housing targets set by the government and then reflected in the Island Plan are unnecessary and unrealistic." Residents expressed major concerns regarding the impact on services such as education, health and roads. Speaking after a meeting about the proposed Crossways development at East Cowes, Mr. Seeley said the homes would not be built for islanders, but for retirees relocating from the mainland. It is designed to hit random government targets. What we need is housing for islanders in modest numbers that preserve our quality of life, he said. Councillor Stewart said that there was a need for new housing and more than 2,500 people were on the waiting list. Now, the council has said it will prepare a case that demonstrates the real housing needs of the island. The government targets were determined by a formula to objectively assess housing needs, equating to 641 homes a year. Councillor Stewart said the council had listened to concerns and would now seek to put forward an alternative calculation based on fact rather than formula, working with Mr. Seeley to see what could be realistically achieved. However, he warned, we can't just say we don't want any houses. We must provide homes that meet the needs of the island, including more affordable housing.
Cyclists raise £6,000 for hospice charity. Cyclists who took part in the End to End Challenge raised more than £6,000 for Mountbatten. Challenging weather did not deter more than 250 people from taking part in the ride, from Culver to the Needles Old Battery and back. It was the first year the event was organised by Mountbatten, with support from End to End founder member and doctor at the hospice, David Isaac. It was wet, windy and cold. The cyclists were covered in mud, but all smiling at the finish line, said Mountbatten event fundraiser Hannah Joyce. Cyclists could opt for the full 92 kilometres or a shorter 23-kilometre route that finished at Gatcombe, where David and his wife Jane provided food. Mountbatten's IT technician Dave Millward, who completed the full distance, raising more than £350, said, "It was tough. The weather didn't help and I could really feel it in my legs on Monday. But it was still great fun and I was proud to represent Mountbatten." And that's all we have time for. So it's goodbye from Sonara.
And goodbye from Francis.
Leicester.
And hello from Lynn.
And we start with the letters, and the first one is Derelict in inverted commas station, and it's from Leslie Hampshire, coordinator, Greentown, Shanklin. In response to Bob Seeley's column, County Press 270919, I'd like to congratulate him on all his hard work involving local groups in securing a £26 million investment in Island Line and thus securing its future. This is long overdue and shows in our current political climates of anger and division, communities working together can still succeed. Amid all the excitement of newer rolling stock, better track, more regular services, ticket machines and Wi-Fi on trains and stations, can I submit a plea for at least a portion of the funds to be reserved for improving the state of some of the stations? Here in Shanklin, the toilets are permanently closed as their condition makes them a health hazard. What are the travelling public, especially the elderly and those with young children, supposed to do? The waiting room is also closed and the state of the drains, paintwork and general appearance of the building is deplorable. The ticket office is often closed too, even in the morning, so no wonder footfall is dropping. Greentown Shanklin is a local volunteer group, and among our other activities we maintain and plant up the station garden, forecourt tubs and hanging baskets. We've been asked by South West Trains to adopt the station as a means of securing more funds. However, we see little point in providing more beautiful flower displays to decorate an increasingly derelict-looking station. We have tried many times to get this point across to SWT. Perhaps Mr. Seeley will be able to succeed where we have failed.
And the next letter is entitled Hefty Hound, and it's from Lynette True, Cranmore. You may have seen on the way out of Hampstead Road, as you head towards civilization, our beautiful Japanese Akita dog. The breed is a delight, but can be unpredictable, and they require exercise befitting an 8-stone dog, which is why I take him off the lead around our lanes at 4 a.m. each day when you are all still asleep. He has a preference to do what dogs do in or on anything that takes his fancy, albeit in a ditch or on a tree stump. He did once reverse into a bucket left outside a property, which was one of his funniest yet mortifying things I have ever seen. However, I digress. I will always clean up after him, but occasionally he will catch a scent of a night creature and enter a property if the gate isn't closed. It is not in my nature to trespass, but as the alternative is an unsuspecting householder finding their garden gnome with an added extra on his hat, I will follow him. So should you wake and see an eerie green light, his luminous collar, or hear my footsteps tiptoeing on your gravel drive, please don't be alarmed and reach for the blunderbuss. It's only us.
And this letter is from Nick Miller, manager of Storeroom 2010. Uncharitable folk. As the manager stroke CEO of a well-known island furniture reuse charity, I feel it's my obligation to draw attention to an increasing hostility towards our charity and the staff who work within. I'm also sure that we are not the only charity suffering this abuse. On the whole, we enjoy the support the majority of our customers give, and we're incredibly grateful. There are, though, unfortunately, a number of people who are of the impression that we are here to be abused, occasionally within our premises, or more often, the coward's way via social media. We're accused of jacking up prices, ripping off the customers, and living a life of luxury while creaming the profits away for lavish holidays and fine dining. Our operation has grown over a period of 9 years, and we now provide employment to 10 paid staff and provide work placements and voluntary positions. Along the way, we have met some obstacles, and the team dynamics can be challenging from time to time. Invariably, people get upset, and for this we are always concerned and seek to resolve issues to the satisfaction of those concerned, where we can. There is no owner of the charity. We, including myself, are all working members of staff and all accountable to trustees. If any one of us fails and act responsibly, we risk losing our jobs, just as any employee within any other company. Every member of our staff is very much committed to the ideals of the charity and agree to work for a minimal wage, although I feel they deserve much better. Our staff are all people who share a concern for our environment and for the betterment of their community. Each year we face new challenges such as a flood of ridiculously cheap, inferior new goods coming in from other countries, which are available from large chain stores that have recently taken a foothold on the island. There are also increases in fuel and general running costs, new government legislation which has forced the need to take on additional staff, and the introduction of a higher minimum wage and company pensions. Since conception, we've made no significant increase to our prices, only ever enough to remain viable and to try to protect the future of the charity and its employees, while hopefully making a huge contribution to the preservation of our world's resources for future generations, and at the same time helping those less fortunate on our island to enjoy affordably the basic needs of modern living. To those of you who feel we are leeching off the public, living the life of luxury, we are sorry to disappoint you. We're just ordinary working people living on far less than the national average wage, although we can all individually hold our heads up high and take satisfaction from the fact that we are doing our bit for the community and for a better world.
And now from Hazel Wild in Freshwater, the disabled next. I am the parent of a daughter with special needs, congenital brain damage, her actual diagnosis. I was her sole carer for 51 years, but 2 years ago this week I suffered a stroke, which left me paralysed on my left side and in a wheelchair. This meant, of course, that I could not continue to care for Jacqueline, a bitter blow. However, I was fortunate enough to secure her a home in a wonderful care home, Kingston Farm, in East Cowes. The small group of clients live as they would if at home, with activities and wonderful care by loving and committed staff. I was able to relax and know my daughter's future was secure, and I need no longer worry about what she would do if I died, a constant fear of mine. Most mothers will identify with this fear. Motherhood doth make cowards of us all. We all share this anxiety when we have young dependent children. Reading your article about Ryde House and its dispute with Isle of Wight Council struck fear into my heart, and I am sure into the hearts of all parents who believe their looked after children's future was secure as possible, especially as in this case they have been residents for many years. The future of 13 adult special needs clients hangs in the balance. I would urge Isle of Wight Council to put humanity before funding. We all have duty of care to those less fortunate than ourselves. But even though my daughter is not as yet affected, who knows where the axe falls next? Let us all stand up and be counted, saying this is wrong. We have all read horror stories of elderly people moved from care homes where they have lived happily for many years. And now they come for the disabled.
And this is an article from Wight Memories, A Family Happy in the Wilds of Newtown by Alan Stroud. A recent Wight Memories article looked at Prangnells of Elmsworth, located on the eastern side of the mouth of Newtown Creek. Here are a couple of photographs that demonstrate why the family was so happy in the wilds of Newtown. And it's a picture of water and a bit of land. Away from the hustle and the bustle of modern life, there was not only peace and quiet and solitude, there was also the sheer beauty of the area. The second photo, which is more water, taken one misty morning in April, shows the skeleton of what was once the Prangnells Pier on the shores of Clammerking Lake. It was from here that thousands of bricks began their journey from the adjacent kilns to the customers. Top right is the foreshore next to the pier, still littered with thousands of pieces of broken tiles, bricks and mouldings damaged in the firing process. This is not vandalism. Known as brickbats, they were put to good use and recycled to make a hard standing on the shore. The lower right photo shows Fish House Point just 100 metres from the Prangnells' own back door. The point forms the eastern side of the mouth of the Newtown Creek. The river mouth itself is just hidden from view in centre left of the photo. Bleak in winter, but stunning the rest of the year, it's hardly surprising that generations of Prangnells were content there for more than 100 years. Next we've got a public information article. Picture of Maggie Oldham, Chief Executive of the Isle of Wight NHS Trust. And the heading for this is Getting to Good. I'm delighted to reflect on the first positive news in my first CP column. You may have seen inspectors from the Care Quality Commission have given our services on improved rating of requires improvement up from inadequate last year. This is recognition of the hard work from staff all over the Trust. I'm proud to say our community teams, End of Life Care, NHS 111 and our out of hours urgent care service have all been rated good. But we are not satisfied with requires improvement, and we know that there's still a lot of work to do. I'm sorry we've not seen the improvement in our mental health services we wanted. My executive team and I understand how vital good mental health services are to the community, and I want to reassure you that we remain 100% committed to getting this right. We're looking closely at what the report shows, and we'll be working with our Isle of Wight partners and those across the Solent to get training, education, leadership and additional staffing to improve those services. Taking an organisation as complex as ours from inadequate to good is a huge task, and it was always going to take time to achieve. We set ourselves a target of getting to good in 2020, and the report shows we're making progress.
Right, now we have My View by Rupert Beasley. Not perfect, but we're not green hypocrites. And there's one of Beasley's cartoons from the demonstration for climate change, and there's a little child with a poster, and two people in a car are saying, "That little hypocrite's done that with a felt tip made from plastic." And then he goes on to write the article. Hypocrisy, eh? That is one of the charges levelled against local climate change protesters in the piece last week from Malcolm Mime. Well, Malcolm, whoever you are, I was there in support of the Newport demonstration, so allow me to respond. At first glance, the points you make are ones I could begin to agree on. But with each comes an almighty but. I share your distaste for scaring children, or adults, on climate change. I would have preferred a lighter tone, with happy singing from a positive song sheet. Like you, I am uncomfortable with the presence and maybe use of children for what could be seen as political ends. But experience shows polite protests, however large, from online petitions signed by millions to the mass gatherings in London, get brushed over by the media and ignored by politicians. Softly, softly hasn't worked. I don't agree with Caroline Criado Perez that no one ever changed the world by being nice, nor would I ever condone violence or damage to property. But I can see why frustrated people turn to shock tactics and disturbance, much as I dislike these. Keeping politics out of the classroom sounds like the right thing to do, but everything is political in some way, not least our children's future. We have got to this point thanks to a schoolgirl in Sweden bunking off and millions following her lead. They have taken the initiative only because adult authorities have failed to pay adequate heed to current emergencies. The Amazon is burning, glaciers melting, whole countries and environments are under threat, and you write in to complain that your wife was held up in the car on a shopping trip for frozen food. The island has a council leader who still, in April, saw climate emergency as unevidenced. We do not need a page in the paper to be filled with spurious justifications for doing nothing.
Hypocrite? I'm sure I am, if that is defined as one who makes use of the things he condemns. We're all somewhat as imperfect beings in an imperfect world. None of us could easily survive without some use of plastic, non-renewable energy and all the rest. Hypocrisy is what those who try to go green are always accused of. It's an easy jibe and no doubt bolsters its makers with a sense of moral superiority as speakers of truth. But the finger-pointing accusation is just a diversionary tactic, a way of turning the spotlight away from the lifestyle and consumption of those who continue without a care for the world or thought for others in it, and on the inconsistencies of those taking positive steps. We don't expect advocates of healthy eating to give up food entirely. Neither should we judge those concerned about the climate change just on their failure to abandon all use of cars or plastic, meat or dairy. I belong to no organisation and can speak only for myself. If you, Malcolm, wish to challenge my greenness, please contact me privately and I'll tell you more. I won't do that here, not just for lack of space and for fear of sounding insufferably smug, but because I know I still fall far short of what is required. I'm guilty of ungreen practices in countless ways. Is that hypocrisy? Not really, as I'm fully aware of these shortcomings and have never sought to hide them. My dictionary defines hypocrisy as feigning to be better than one is. I'm not, and concealment of true character or belief. Maybe that's something you, faceless Malcolm, have yet to come clean on. When we hear the words, I'm not a racist, but, we all know what's coming next. You write, I'm not a climate change denier, but, and then appear to be just that. Which is a bigger deceit? To fail to be perfect or to deny outright the hard truths we face, or maybe accept the conclusions of science but choose to do nothing about them.
Right, and now we come to some things that are happening around the island. A free computer buddy session is being organised by the Friends of Freshwater Library. Anyone who needs help with a computer or laptop with an expert should phone 752 377 to book a time slot. There are limited spaces.
And something from Sight for Wight. Sight for Wight will hold a murder mystery evening at its Millbrook House headquarters on Thursday, October the 31st at 6:30 p.m. Tickets cost £10 to include a simple 2-course supper, glass of wine, coffee and mince. And for tickets, call 522 205.
A charity rock music evening is being held at Medina Theatre. A spine-tapping evening of rock music is returning to the Isle of Wight on Friday, October the 11th, raising funds for military personnel and veterans. Medina Theatre will host Rock for Heroes, a live rock concert to raise funds for Help for Heroes. Since the inception of Rock for Heroes, more than 30,000 has been raised. The music will be performed by an octet of instrumentalists and will feature hits from such luminaries as Queen, Dire Straits, Status Quo, AC/DC and Guns N' Roses. Last year, the emphasis was on fun and audience interaction, with the intention to emulate that on this tour, albeit with expanding audiences. Tickets are available from the Medina Theatre box office, and they're £19. And if you remember, if you book your seat by telephone at Medina Theatre on 823 880 and ask for seats in row K, you will find that there are no steps to negotiate. Guide dogs are welcome, but remember the seats can only be booked by telephone, and if you are taking a guide dog, just mention it to the lady and she'll put you somewhere where you and the dog can sit together.
And Red Final Isle of Wight Literary Festival programme. And this is from October the 10th to the 13th at Northwood House, Cowes. And there are more than 60 speakers set to entertain and inspire audiences over 4 days at the island's 8th annual Literary Festival. You can see the full programme and book tickets online. And online is www.Isle of Wight Literary Festival, that's all crammed together, all in lowercase, .com. And here are some of the things that are taking place. On Thursday, October the 10th, at 3:20 to 4:20, you've got the Right Honourable Jack Straw, The English Job, Understanding Iran and Why It Distrusts Britain. And then on Friday, October the 11th, it's Crime Friday. And at 1:40 to 3:40, and this costs £6.9. I should have said that the Jack Straw costs £12. This one costs £9. Professor Angela Gallup, When the Dogs Don't Bark, a forensic scientist's search for the truth. And that's on Friday the 11th. Move on to the Saturday, and 11:20 to 12:20, Sir Tim Waterstone, The Face Pressed Against a Window, a memoir, and that is £9. And on the Sunday, between 1 o'clock in the afternoon and 2 o'clock, Andrew Lowney, The Mountbattens, Their Lives and Loves, £9 again. And then from at the same time, 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock on the Sunday, is Lynn Truss, The Man That Got Away. That's £9 as well.
And now we have the Three Valleys Male Voice Choir, a musical spectacular from 7:45 p.m. on Saturday the 5th of October at St John's Church, Sandown. Tickets are £10 on the door. And if you'd like to phone 402480, they will give you more details.
Okay. And this is an event at Key Arts Newport. Hannah James, popular performer returning to Key Arts. A multi-talented star of British folk music is coming to Newport Key Arts. Hannah James, an English clog dancer, accordion player and singer, will be showcasing her many talents on Saturday, October the 12th. Hannah has been a leading innovator in British folk for nearly 2 decades, and on a memorable evening in the autumn of 2015, she brought her one-woman show, Jig Doll, to the Quay. Her unforgettable performance, employing newly composed music and cutting-edge stage technique, created a magical atmosphere and will have fans looking forward to her next show. Hannah will be accompanied by instrumental experts, Hungarian percussionist Andrus Deck, Scottish fiddle player Kate Young, and Estonian bassist Marty Tarn. The concert will start at 8 p.m. and singer-songwriter Catherine Williams is to perform at the Quay Arts on Wednesday, October the 23rd.
And now we're going back to some more things at the Medina Theatre. On Sunday the 6th of October at 7:30, the Lost Voice guy is there, and it's called I'm Only in It for the Parking. He was the guy who won Britain's Got Talent, first comedian ever to win, Lee Ridley, and he's the first stand-up comedian to use a communication aid. And it says he may not be able to talk, but he definitely has something to say, and the tickets for that are £16. And then on the 27th of October, that's a Sunday, Griff Rhys-Jones is going to be in a one-man show called All Over the Place. And he is going to be talking about previous one-man entertainments, Jones and Smith, Where Was I?, and his hugely acclaimed tour of Australia and New Zealand. The tickets for that are £19, and that starts at 7:30. And Think Floyd is going to be on Saturday the 9th of November at 7:30. Tickets £23.50. An extraordinary band dubbed the Definitive Pink Floyd Experience are renowned for their stunning celebration of the music of one of the world's greatest bands.
And we move on to the sport now. Dean, first Islander to earn classic medal, and a picture of Dean looking very happy gripping his medal, by John Marino. When window fitter Dean Pike completed the Swim Serpentine open swim race last month, he did something no other Islander had done before. He earned the coveted London Classics medal. To earn the huge gong, the 37-year-old of High Street, Carisbrooke, needed to complete not only the Swim Serpentine, a 2-mile open water swim, but also the London Marathon and the Prudential Ride London Surrey 100. The London Classics is regarded as one of the world's great sporting challenges. Everyone who completes the iconic trio of events receives a specially designed London Classics medal, engraved with the words, Et ego Londinium vici, I too have conquered London. Dean is listed as one of the 2,600 from around the world in the London Classics Hall of Fame. The Wight triathlete completed the London Marathon last year in 3 hours 28 minutes and has twice done the Ride London in 2017 and this year, knocking 20 minutes off his first effort. Remarkably for Dean, he only learned to swim a few years ago to enable him to do the triathlon. He took part in the Island Games for Team IW in Gibraltar this summer, coming 45th from 70. Dean won the West Wight Triathlon 2 weeks ago at his first attempt and the day after completing the Swim Serpentine. The London Classics medal means a lot to Dean. He said, I'm very happy to have it, but my biggest triathlon ambition is to do a full Ironman, probably in 2021. I will do a half Ironman next year, then step up. I only started running when I was 30, then 2 years ago started triathlon. I wouldn't have done it without Jenny Ball's help in the pool. I was pretty much a non-swimmer. I was always motivated as a runner and cyclist, but it was my friend Russ Miller who taught me into doing the triathlon. I'm so glad he did.
And now a little article entitled Bears Keep the Memories Alive. Handmade memory bears created from the clothes of loved ones are being sold by the Little Isle of Wight Company. The company owner, Lisa Trigg, is giving £5 to Mountbatten for each one sold. She got the idea for the bears when her husband Keith's dad, Alan Trigg, died, and the family wanted something special to remember him by. Most of the items available in the shops didn't seem quite right, and she felt some were a bit macabre. She asked teddy bear maker Wendy Webb of East Cowes to create a memory bear made from some of Alan's favourite clothes as a special keepsake. Now she is selling Wendy's bespoke bears through her online business. She said, "The bears make a wonderful keepsake item or unique gift. Each memory bear is hand-created to the highest quality to give you something you can cherish and hold forever. We can incorporate logos or places of work or particular interests and patchwork together more than one garment. If you have been honoured to know someone, it is a good way to remember them. The bears are also really nice if your children outgrow their favourite outfits and you can't bear to throw them away or pass them on."
And another item from the sporting pages. Leon stepping up to mark for Pompey. Rides Pompey winger Leon Maloney has caught the eye of manager Kenny Jackett with his cup performances so far this season and could earn a loan move to a National League club as a stepping stone to greater things. The 18-year-old, an unused first-team substitute 3 times, most recently the South Coast derby between against Southampton in the Carabao Cup, impressed the Blues' 3-1 win over Norwich under-21s in the Leasing.com Trophy, the EFL Trophy. It was during the match Maloney chalked up his first assist for Pompey, the defending champions. Pompey's assistant manager, Joe Gallen, has praised Maloney, a product of the club's academy, for the progress he has made. In fact, Dutch second-tier club Volendam came knocking during the summer transfer window, but a deal failed to materialise. "Leon's looked comfortable and confident when he stepped on the pitch," said Gallen. "He has a turn of speed and can run with the ball. We've just got to keep developing him. If people have watched him, with his eye for goal, confidence and crossing ability, I don't see why he couldn't play in the National League. A good stepping stone."
Schnauzerfest fun. Schnauzers of all varieties swarmed a beach in St Helens on Sunday as owners met up to celebrate Schnauzerfest. Isle of Wight dog owners brought their miniature, standard and giant pups to St Helens Dover for the annual celebration of all things Schnauzer. The event raised $148 for the Berkshire-based Diana Brimblecombe Animal Rescue Centre. Organiser Ian Arnold said, "There must have been about 50 people there and at least 30 dogs were on the beach. It was such a great atmosphere, although it was raining, but the dogs didn't care at all. They were loving it. We had a raffle to raise money and we had some great donations, including a placard from Busy Bee Garden Centre that said, 'Beware of the Schnauzer.' And Paul Mitchell donated a voucher for Cowbourne Watermill. Cakes were served and the dogs enjoyed their walks."
Some advice for gardeners here. Top tips in the garden. A final mow can be made this month before winter. Raise the blades from the lower summer setting. Lawn edges can be recut in the knowledge that they will still look good in spring. Edging is a really good idea to cut the workload in future. Rake any thatch from the surface and repair dead patches. There's still time to lay fresh turf if required. The recent rain has meant it is a good time, at least until the end of the month, to sow grass seed on those bald lawn patches. Break up the soil and gently rake in the seed. It needs light to germinate. Hardwood cuttings from deciduous shrubs can now be taken. Trees and shrubs can be moved now and new hedges can be planted. Fallen rose leaves should be cleared up to prevent diseases such as black spot from overwintering. Don't compost these leaves.
Baby Jordan helped by Charity Challenge. A Newport baby in need of prosthetic support will receive financial help thanks to the South London Tough Mudder Challenge. Jordan Lloyd, who is nearly 5 months old, was born with dysmelia, a condition that affects the limbs. Jordan was born without half of one arm, and due to it being a rare condition, he needs specialist appointments on the mainland for prosthetics to be developed. His plight was discovered by Nicole Brennan of Chichester, who has the same condition. The 28-year-old took part in the Tough Mudder Challenge for I Am Possible, the limb difference charity, and pledged to raise funds to help the Lloyds with travel costs. She also wants the money to help provide support and information at the point of diagnosis. So far, her team of 22 has raised more than £2,500. Barry Lloyd, Jordan's dad, said, "We had the most amazing experience in St Mary's Hospital, as all the people we dealt with were absolutely fantastic. We got just amazing support. It is quite a niche condition, so we will have to go over the water several times a year to see specialists, and the boat is expensive. There is no financial help available, so we are very grateful to Nicole for fundraising to help us." Barry and wife Sarah discovered Jordan's condition at the 20-week scan. They had been looking out for a genetic condition that affects the fingers and toes, as that was already in the family, when they discovered the unrelated dysmelia. The future looks positive for Jordan, thanks to advances in technology. He will start with a soft toy arm to play with, getting a bigger one every 3 months so he is familiar with it. Eventually he will be able to attach it on, and he will also have access to a range of different arms for different occasions, such as a mechanical arm for grabbing and a water-resistant arm for swimming. As he moves through life, he will get a fitted forearm to attach a prosthetic hand to. To donate, go to tinyurl.com/Y3PB2SEZ.
Information event on bereavement. An event is being held to help people dealing with bereavement. Dying to Know aims to bring people together to talk about death and dying, and has been organised by Jigsaw Training and Development Services with support from Wheeler's Solicitors and Glanville's Damont. They are bringing together a group of professionals involved in end-of-life and bereavement support. People can talk through their concerns and get advice regarding funerals, probate, bereavement, counselling, and even the types of coffins available. The event is on Saturday, October the 12th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it's at the Parish Centre, Town Lane, Newport. There will be a talk on wills, probate and inheritance tax by April Newton of Glanville's Damont at 10:45 and Lewis Wheeler of Wheeler's Solicitors at 12:45. Exhibitors include Grave Concerns, Age UK IW, Rest in Pine, Bright Hill Funerals, Driving Miss Daisy and Island Memorials.
The waste charge is high, but the service is popular. Garden waste collection services across the UK cost an average of £31, but Isle of Wight residents pay almost double that. A report by the BBC's Shared Data Unit, released last Wednesday, revealed 59% of local authorities charge for a garden waste collection service. The Isle of Wight Council service costs £60 a year, which includes a fortnightly collection and a 240-litre wheelie bin or 3 reusable sacks. The service is extremely popular. It is currently at capacity, with 7,000 subscribers, increased from 5,000 when it was launched. There are 650 properties on the waiting list. The £60 cost places the Isle of Wight in the top 20% in terms of the most expensive services nationally. The Isle of Wight Council charges the same as councils in Bromley, Gosport and Reading, while 100 local authorities offer the service for free. Compared with Portsmouth and Southampton, where residents pay £45, The island also exceeds the average cost of collections in the South East, which is £44. The most expensive service in the UK is in Harlow, Essex, at £96 for a fortnightly collection. The report follows the news hundreds of Isle of Wight residents did not renew their subscriptions this year, blaming a lack of information about renewals. Although the council advertised the renewals process online and sent emails to those who provided addresses, reminder notifications were not otherwise sent. However, the council plans to extend the scheme and has purchased a new garden waste collection truck. Christine Jackson of Sandown Green Town Volunteers said, "What we have now is a great improvement on the previous lightweight sacks we had to purchase, which often split. The service is much better than having to take garden waste to a tip with a cost in time and money. It makes going green relatively easy."
Council invests millions. The Isle of Wight Council has spent £35.1 million acquiring industrial units all over the country, with £64.8 million still to spend, as part of the authority's property acquisition strategy aimed at creating long-term sustainable income by playing the property market. £100 million was set aside to buy commercial property that could then be rented out. The proposal was approved 2 years ago, taking the lead from other authorities across the country. 4 properties have been acquired so far. These properties have been rented to 9 tenants, including the women's fashion brand In Style, the Stagecoach Group and self-storage providers. The first property purchased in April 2018 was Olympic Court in Salford, costing the council £11.4 million. The most recent was a unit at the Nursling Industrial Estate in Southampton, acquired for £3.9 million. The council is still looking for more assets to buy. So far, the council has received a rental income of £1 million, forecast to reach £1.6 million by the end of the year. The gross return has been forecast at 4.5% per annum, which means if the full £100 million was invested, it would generate an income of £4.5 million a year. Portsmouth City Council has been paid almost £140,000 to manage the property investment fund on behalf of the Isle of Wight Council. The figures have been published in a report which went before the Council's Audit Committee last Monday.
More cars seized. Police seized a car following a helicopter chase in Ryde. The Honda Civic, which was not taxed or insured, failed to stop near Tesco on Saturday, September the 21st. A helicopter from the National Police Air Service was able to assist as it was nearby conducting training. The decision was made to stand the pursuit down as it headed towards Ryde Town Centre, and the vehicle was later located and seized. There has been a crackdown on illegal cars recently. A silver Vauxhall in Ventnor and a yellow MG in Newport were seized when police discovered they were not insured and the drivers only had provisional licences.
And that's all. So it's have a good day. Goodbye from Leicester.
And it's goodbye from Lynn.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening. Tonight, one visually impaired MP's fight for the tools to do her job, and one view of how talking newspapers could reach many more listeners. But first, with the country buzzing with talk of an impending general election, this surprise result in the last one only seems like yesterday.
And I do hereby declare that Marcia Chantal de Cordova is duly elected to serve as the MP for Battersea.
Well, it was in fact the 8th of June 2017, and in a night of surprises, Marcia de Cordova's capture of Battersea for Labour with a 10% swing was one of the biggest. Far from holding her back, her visual impairment, she has nystagmus, made her perhaps a natural choice as Shadow Disability Minister. But since then, the struggle she's had to get the support to do her work, which she feels she needs, has shocked and surprised her. Earlier this year, she went public about it to fellow MPs.
Unfortunately, obtaining the support and the additional support that I need in this place to operate and function as an MP has been challenging. I'm having to continuously fight for additional support when I'm being told by IPSA, we know you have additional needs, but we're not going to support those additional needs. It has made it very difficult for me. I should be here. The people of Battersea have sent me here to represent them. I shouldn't be fighting the authorities here to get the additional support that I need.
The IPSA Marsha refers to there is the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, a non-party body which counts administering a disability assistance budget amongst its responsibilities. When she talked to us just a few days after being elected, Marsha could already see the kinds of difficulties and pressures the job would throw up. The sheer weight of paperwork she'd have to deal with in a form she could read. Just navigating the notoriously winding and rambling nature of buildings designed in the middle of the 19th century. And the need to keep track of constituency cases, as well as the relentless parliamentary timetable. So I asked her, what's gone wrong with your support?
This year, IPSA got in touch with me to inform me that some of the support that I was getting was made in error. I had funding support for an additional member of staff, and it was that funding that was then stopped, so therefore I had to let that member of staff go.
So what effect has that had?
Well, it's had a huge impact on me being able to carry out my shadow ministerial responsibilities. I obviously am still trying to do my very best in representing disabled people, but it's not been easy. In another vein, I also asked IPSA to take into account the additional costs I would have due to having to print papers in larger fonts, and obviously it's going to cost me more to, run my office.
And that's because you need large print.
For example, if I'm printing a speech that I'm going to have to read in the chamber, it would be printed in up to font 46. That's obviously lots more paper and lots more ink. So I wanted them to take that into consideration. And that's what they said they wouldn't do. They have now, I'm happy to say, conceded on that and will now be allocating me additional funding for printing costs. I made that speech on International Women's Day this year, and it wasn't until then that IPSA actually did get back in touch with me and wanted to talk about a way forward. Prior to that, it pretty much was a clear-cut no, and that's it.
How do you say that this has prevented you from doing your job?
Well, Peter, to say that it's been a challenge and it has been quite a struggle would be an understatement. Having to battle with IPSA to almost prove that I required this support, going through the process of IPSA wanting to understand the nature of the support I required, and then, in my opinion, placing some unreasonable demands, let's just say, on what they required in order to look at whether they would provide me with extra support was hugely disappointing for me, because you expect authorities to have a clear defined policy in how they would support anybody with a disability.
We invited IPSA, that's the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, to comment on your concerns. They told us we support comprehensive assessment of the specific needs of MPs and their staff so that any reasonable adjustments in line with the Equality Act can be identified and quickly funded to help MPs in their jobs. And they say IPSA has an uncapped disability assistance fund for costs and reasonable adjustments that are reasonably attributable to a disability of an MP.
I'm really pleased that IPSA have given you guys the statement that they have, and I look forward to hearing from them as to whether they will be funding the additional support that I've asked for.
Have you been given reasons why your applications for funding have been either turned down or reversed?
All IPSA told me in relation to the support for the extra worker was that the application was approved in error, and that's that.
So you don't know what the error was. IPSA has a disability fund in which they spent about £120,000 last year, and on the face of it, people will think that paper and ink can't make a very big dent in that. Do you have any understanding of why this has been such a problem?
Again, I just think it's people making decisions, but ultimately what needs to happen is they need to have a comprehensive policy in place, which it sounds like they're beginning to do, on how they support disabled members. I shouldn't have had to experience what I experienced this year, which has, had a significant impact on my health and well-being. And I'm just hoping going forward, nobody else has to therefore experience what I've had to go through.
You were quite emotional in that clip that we heard when you spoke.
I was emotional listening to it, Peter.
Can you just explain what effect it's had?
Well, it's been an emotional, and it's caused me to have a lot of stress and worry and anxiety.
I mean, you must have known when you stood for Parliament, it wouldn't be a walk in the park. It would be a tough job anyway.
Well, I mean, I think I'm doing an incredibly good job being a Member of Parliament for my constituents. So, that's a very good tick and a good plus for me. You yourself, Peter, would know if you do have an impairment, then that requires you to maybe need additional support. And what's important is to ensure that disabled MPs or anybody gets the right support that they need. I also look at this in the wider context, Peter, of if it's been this challenging for me as a Member of Parliament to get the required support needed, I think of all the other disabled people that are looking for work and going into work, and some of the challenges and the barriers that they are facing. And it's really why I wanted to share my experience in that particular debate, because we are in a situation where the disability employment gap for disabled people has remained pretty stagnant at just above 30% for a very long time now, and we need to look at how we can close that gap, because frankly in 2019 it's just not good enough.
Now, when you talked to us within days of being elected, you listed the things you wanted to do specifically for disabled people. How successful do you think you've been so far?
Disabled people have suffered quite significantly in relation to austerity and cuts to social security support and things like that. Holding this government to account on that has been quite important to me. So I think I've done a fairly good job at that. Obviously, I can't implement policies until we have and elect a Labour government. Also,
transport was very high on your list when you talked to us before. This government has made a commitment to accessible public transport by 2030. They've asked local authorities to call a halt to shared spaces schemes that are in the planning stage, something that very much has worried visually impaired people. The rail regulator has introduced improvements to the assistance travellers get and better compensation when that goes wrong. These are concrete improvements, aren't they?
Absolutely, and who could argue with that? I'm also pleased that I lobbied and campaigned to ensure that some of my train stations in Battersea will also be step-free, and I'm pleased to say that 2 of those stations will now be made step-free. So I give credit where credit is due.
If there's a general election soon, will you be standing again?
Well, I'm pleased to say that my local party have reselected me to be their candidate in any upcoming general election, and I will continue to hopefully represent the people of Battersea. But, I will campaign hard. I've got a good track record as a community champion for my constituents, and I want to remain that way.
Marcia de Cordova. Now, teaching makeup on the radio. Bit of a challenge, we thought, but last week's masterclass by Lucy Edwards seems to have come off. Anne Wilkins was certainly pleased to hear it. She said, "I'm totally blind and don't know many visually impaired people who've experimented as I have. But I remember as a teenager putting on nail varnish by myself and ruining a valued dressing table my mother had by spilling the varnish all over it." Inga Axe-Simmons says, very knowledgeable and giving every woman, visually impaired or not, confidence to have a go. And the programme reminded Simon Q of a hugely inspiring artist, Sagi Man, who gradually went blind over years. Yet he was so life-affirming, Simon says, even about the fading light, which was so central to his work. Well, long-time listeners may remember the interview we did with Sagi Man a few years ago. Now, when the first one appeared almost 60 years ago, talking newspapers seemed to be an idea whose time had come. Parts of the local rag read onto tape by volunteers when recorders were just becoming cheaper and the cassette machine was on the horizon. Well, the initial trickle became a flood. There are now over 500 talking newspapers throughout the UK, all independent, although many of them are members of an umbrella group, the Talking Newspaper Federation. They've had to keep up with technology, of course. The cassette gave way to the memory stick, and some are now entirely online. And despite their growth in numbers, there's always been an uneasy feeling throughout the movement itself that they weren't reaching the numbers of visually impaired people that they should be. It's a problem which has been bothering Jonathan Horniblow. He ran a talking newspaper himself for a time and has a working background in IT. His new invention gives access to talking newspapers through a smart speaker. At this point, I'd better declare an interest. I'm the long-time president of the Talking Newspaper Federation. Jonathan explained his idea to Lee Kumitat.
It doesn't really provide a talking newspaper itself. It allows talking newspapers to distribute to people in new ways or ways that bridge a technology gap.
So explain what the difference is. How would they get their content onto your new platform?
Most of them still post tapes or CDs or memory sticks out, and the listener would have a special player. But the problem with that is you're reliant on the post. And of course, if something goes wrong, if we have snow or a strike or the player goes wrong or there's a copying problem, and there's that time delay of getting the memory sticks back. So a lot of them are moving to putting information on the web, but it's still the case that almost 3/4 of over 75s who've lost their sight with age don't actually use the internet, and 50% of them, they just don't want to start now. So rather than force them on to using a website, I'm hoping that by providing everything from a way of telephone dialing in right through to these modern assistants like Amazon Alexa and Google Home, others are available, then they can really have a choice at both ends of the technology gap, and of course retaining the current ways they listen in the middle. It's not supposed to be either or, it's supposed to broaden that choice as technology moves on. What talking newspapers aren't, they're not something like The Observer or The Guardian or The Sun just read to you. They are more local content, and it's really up to the editor of each talking newspaper what they put in there. So it's not like you're just going to open Alexa and say, read me the Manchester Evening News. Although, of course, many local newspapers might have their own app, but it will probably read it in the synthetic voice, and you'll just get the items one after another. The nice thing about talking newspapers is they've got that little bit of personality to them. And yeah, you are reliant on the editors knowing what you want to listen to, but generally it's a good mix.
So what would one have to do then to hear the newspaper that they were used to hearing? What would they say to their Alexa/Google Home?
My Talking Newspaper is what's called a skill. Think of it like an app for Google Home. They call them skills. So it's called My Talking Newspaper, and initially they would say enable My Talking Newspaper. So if you were to say Sheffield, it would list the talking newspapers near Sheffield, and you'd be able to hear immediately your local talking newspaper in Sheffield.
If people are happy receiving what they are receiving with their USB sticks or even cassettes, and this has been working for the last 20 years, why reinvent the wheel in a way?
I don't think it's reinventing the wheel. It's making use of new technology as it becomes available. And it is very much the case that voice assistants are actually more popular amongst an older demographic, because the younger people, they've got their apps and their iPhones and their mobiles. And when you think of the cost of accessibility hardware and software just 5 years ago, there's now devices available for around £25 that you can just talk to. You don't need a monitor or a big computer running or a keyboard. With things like Alexa, you can ask it to remind you to take tablets or appointments.
But there are objections to voice assistants, aren't there? People worry about their privacy. People worry about them listening in. Do you really see this taking off?
It's undoubtedly taking off right now. If you
but
look
for the
at
demographic that you're looking at, say the over 75s, that tend to be a bit resistant to this, is it really being embraced by them?
It actually is, and even more than I thought. Obviously, I mean, there is a lot of scepticism, but I think once people realise that my service, or indeed any service like that, doesn't know who's speaking to it, so I don't know where the person is from, what their name is, what account they are, anything about them. It's completely anonymous.
I'm really curious about your motivation for putting together this service, Jonathan, because what are you gaining from it? Is it monetised in any way?
The motivation isn't financial, but talking newspapers that are on it make a small contribution each to the overall cost of the service, but the listener is never charged. So the listener never has to subscribe or sign up or pay for anything, and it certainly works out as a saving for a talking newspaper, because they only need to add a couple of listeners or switch a couple of listeners from using memory stick players to cover the cost of the service. It's satisfying to see the number of users, and it's satisfying to see statistics like the average Alexa skill. They call it retention rate. In other words, for most Alexa skills, between 2 and 3% of people come back and use it again. With the My Talking newspaper skill, it's around 45-50%.
How many talking newspapers have signed up?
At the moment, there's only around 30, so it's a small portion, but it is growing, and I would certainly be thrilled to see more people getting on there. But because of copyright, I can't just say, right, I found a talking newspaper, I'm going to stick them on there. They have to opt in and actively be part of it. But I really hope that more will, and certainly this is being listener-driven, because the last few talking newspapers that have signed up have actually come as a result of listeners saying, can we hear it on the Alexa?
Why do you think it is taking a bit of time for talking newspapers to sign up?
Committees are often populated by very conservative, with a small c, and technically sceptical people. And again, it's really only when the listeners start saying, look, you know, there's this device, can we listen on it, that the uptake has started to pick up.
The Talking Newspaper Federation has said that listener numbers are dwindling and have been for the last 10 years or so. Why do you think your service would see those increasing? How would you get those increasing?
As far as dwindling listener numbers goes, yes, some are, but some talking newspapers are increasing their numbers, and some are even starting. There's a Basingstoke talking newspaper has just actually started, and hopefully it will pick up.
It's a really interesting model, isn't it? Is it really about demand? Do these newspapers kind of get set up because blind people are clamouring for them? Or is it about people seeing a need for a service and providing it?
So there are 500 talking newspapers, and they have an average of 120 listeners each. If I'm completely honest, having been on talking newspaper committees myself and recorded, there is an aspect of the whole social thing of being part of a talking newspaper. So it's not just for the listeners. I think it's a little bit of both.
Jonathan Horniblow. The Talking Newspaper Federation told us,
anything that gives print disabled people more options to access their local talking newspaper is a good thing. While we don't think it's unfair to charge, talking newspapers are small organisations and have to balance this cost against what might be a very low annual income and the number of listeners with an Alexa.
And that's it for today. Comments welcome as usual. You can leave a voice message on 0161 836 1338. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk or go to our website bbc.co.uk/in touch, from where you can also download podcasts of the programme. From me, Peter Wight, producer this week, Emma Tracy, and the team, goodbye.
Scaffolding news for the Cowes area. Current scaffolds at Cameo's Bath Road, Cowes, Prince's Buildings, Bath Road, Cowes, Regency House, 42 High Street, Cowes, current hoarding at Jolliffe's Chandlery, Shooters Hill, Cowes, current skips, 12 Oakfield Road, East Cowes, current skips at 8 Pelham Road, Cowes, pending skips at 29 Solent View Road, Gurnard, and a current mobile crane is adjacent to the substation in Baring Road, Cowes.
Newport area, current scaffolds, Age UK 114A Pyle Street, Newport, 113 Pyle Street, Trespass 44 High Street, Newport, 34 C Street, Newport, 109 Carisbrook Road, Newport, 4 St James Street, Newport, Phones for You, 50 High Street, Newport, 17 C Street, Newport, 146 High Street, Newport, 14 Holyrood Street, Newport, 36 Key Street, Newport. Current scaffolds, 11 High Street, Newport.
In Ryde, there are current scaffolds at 35 to 36 High Street, Ryde, flats 31 to 36 Merrymead Close, Ryde, boots 170 High Street, Ryde, Olivo's Restaurant 32 to 33 Union Street, Ryde, 6 Anglesey Street, Ryde, 79 Park Road, the scaffold is in Player Street in Ryde, 16A Warwick Street, Ryde, 9 High Street, Brading, Hill House, The Mall, Brading, 8 and 9 East Street, Ryde. A pending cherry picker at 10 Pell Lane, Ryde. And current skips are at 28 Marlborough Road, Ryde, 42 Foreland Road, Bembridge, 14 Ray Street, Ryde, 20 John Street, Ryde, 2 Cornwall Street, Ryde, Stitching Elmers, 73 to 75 High Street, Ryde, and adjacent to 59 Benstead Lodge Road, Ryde. Current building materials on the highway are at the junction of Green Street and Station Street, Ryde.
Sandown and Shanklin area, current scaffolds, 42 Fitzroy Street, Sandown, Sandown Saver Centre, Albert Road, Sandown. Current cherry picker, junction of Town Lane and York Road, Sandown. Current hoardings, Premier Inn, 1 to 9, the Esplanade, Sandown. Current mobile crane, Premier Inn, 1 to 9, Esplanade, Sandown. Current skips, Shanklin Towers, Prospect Road, Shanklin. Current building materials on the highway opposite 2 Ashy View Lake.
In the Ventnor area, current scaffolds are at the corner of Trinity Road and Madeira Road, Ventnor, 1 Boniface Road and into Trinity Road, Ventnor. Chiverton's Fish Shop, 70 High Street, Ventnor, 91A High Street, Ventnor, and current skips at the Glebe, Spanners Close.
West Wight area, current scaffolds, Hursts, 9 School Green Road, Freshwater. Current skip, Runnymede, Queen's Road, Freshwater. And Hursley, the Broadway, Totland. Vehicle crossings under construction, Old School Place, Cockleton Lane, Gurnard. 4 the Fairway Lake, Brickfields Cottage, Newnham Road, Ryde. 8 Pritchett's Way, Rookley. 7 Wroxall Close, Northwood. 9 Station Gardens, Brading. 57 Foreland Road, Bembridge. 50 Station Avenue, Sandown.